I removed the entire population of 450 pigs from this 5,000-acre property between February 2017 and August 2018, then turned all equipment over to the landowner. Within 36 months, new pigs migrated from neighboring properties, reproduced, and replenished the population back to original 2017 numbers. This episode begins the new Flint River Project and shares what I encounter in May of 2021 after being gone from this property for 34 months. Cameras are still shared with me on the Jager Pro app, and I notice a problem at multiple northern locations. Tripod feeders are on the ground at Fountain, West Landing Strip, and the Pines. I pull SD cards first at Fountain and noticed a red Poland China boar digging holes under each feeder leg. He appears to be using the feeder leg to shake corn from the hopper. I also notice zip ties have been used to secure each feeder leg to the T-post. This behavior continues for 30 minutes until he is joined by another pig the same size and color. The next photo is 30 minutes later with the feeder knocked down and a different Poland China boar on camera. A photo does not provide enough intel to know exactly what happened. Within a week, other pigs destroy the feeder hopper and spin cast motor. Zip ties become brittle from the sun and are not strong enough to support 180 pounds of corn. The landowner cost himself some money by not following best management practices for securing feeder legs to T-posts. I salvage the feeder legs, T-posts, and dinner bell, then erect a new bait site 75 yards away in a shaded staging area. An ice cam and 6-volt battery box is positioned 20 feet away to collect intel as I test another spin cast motor and hopper. Next, I observe SD cards at West Landing Strip to verify the same damage scenario. 2 boars are feeding after midnight under a tripod feeder. Then, the next photo shows the entire unit on the ground. Within a week, the same hamp boar shows up to roll the hopper away, while I continue to document several new sounders at each location. Once again, the shortcut of using zip ties cost another $200 in damage. The landowner found the feeder hopper about 400 yards away from the bait site. It was destroyed beyond repair with a large structural crack and hole. Again, I salvage what I can and position an ice cam with 6-volt battery box 20 feet away to collect intel. I test a new spin cast motor and hopper in the same location. Same scenario at the Pines with the same equipment damage, so I'll spare you the details for a third time. This is our recommendation. 12.5 gauge barbless wire comes in rolls like this of 1,320 feet. I've used this roll on every single gate and feeder that I've installed in the past 2 years, and I've only used about half. Let me give you a quick field tip. You can see here on my end gate I've got 2 marks. This is the exact length that I need for our gates and feeder legs. I can unroll this and knock out about 50 of these at one time in short measure. I lay it out here on my measurements. I take my bolt cutters, I snip it off at the right length, I give it a quick twist with my pliers, and I slide it inside my PVC pipe. This is a good way to carry 25 or so of these, where you can grab quickly instead of grabbing this whole entire spool of wire. You got all your wires pre-cut, save you time out in the field. Just a quick field tip to make your job as a hog control operator more efficient. An important note here is that I had given an employee my double-stranded 12-gauge wire tube to finish a contract. I secure all 3 feeders to T-posts with 14-gauge baling wire, which turns out to be video gold, to perfectly document the why behind best management practices for this task. Video intel provides more detailed information than photos. The red Poland China boar has learned to dig a hole under each feeder leg, then lift it with his nose to shake loose corn kernels from the feeder hopper. It does not matter if a sounder devours all the corn when the feeder spins at dusk. He has learned a new behavior to access food at any time. He performs the same task at West Landing Strip, which earns him the nickname Forklift. Notice the baling wire is supporting weight without breaking on the near feeder leg. So he begins digging under the far feeder leg to see if it provides different results. The baling wire holds up to 3 weeks of abuse. Daytime footage shows all 3 feeder legs are still secure to T-posts. Forklift is persistent and begins working on the 3rd leg tonight, which is the 20th. You can easily observe that the leg is no longer touching dirt and full feeder weight is supported by the baling wire. The early morning video on the 22nd shows the baling wire slips past the leg seam intersection, allowing forklift to slide the feeder leg back and forth through the baling wire. By the 23rd, forklift has dug a giant crater under the near feeder leg, allowing baling wire to also slip past the leg seam intersection. Old forklift finally breaks the baling wire on the 24th. A non-galvanized wire bent back and forth enough times will eventually break. The next video, 5 minutes later, shows that he manages to break all 3 feeder leg wires within a month and is inches away from also turning this feeder over. This is the first time I've seen this. This borer is actually a learned behavior. Who knows how many feeders he's turned over. This is what happens when you use zip ties or baling wire to secure your feeder legs to T-post. Over the years, the baling wire rusts and breaks, the zip ties corrode from the UV of the sun. But the way we're going to fix this, we're going to use number 12 gauge galvanized wire. It's not going to rust. It's much thicker than baling wire. I'm actually going to pull these T-posts and put the feeder legs on good solid ground and then fill in these holes, and then we'll see if he turns it over whenever we have some number 12 galvanized wire on here. Use a puller to remove all 3 T-posts by placing the base at the bottom of the T-post on the spine side. Raise the puller handle all the way up, then place the C-collar under the lowest T-post stud it will reach on the opposite side. This tool applies leverage to easily raise T-posts out of the ground with little effort. Drive a 5-foot long T-post with the spine against the feeder leg at the seam intersection. Drive straight into the ground at least 24 inches. Wrap 12 gauge wire around feeder leg under the seam intersection. Twist with pliers to anchor between T-post studs. The completed task should look like this. Forklift moved his feeder demolition operations to the pines and dug a substantial hole overnight on the 28th. I recognize this Poland China borer from Fountain. He is digging under the far leg at 4:54 on July 2nd. The next video at 4:58 shows the far feeder leg bulldozed away from the T-post, which cracks the feeder hopper, allowing corn to spill on the ground. This little stunt earns him the nickname Dozer, and I'm pretty sure he was responsible for knocking down the fountain feeder in the same manner. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see how I surgically remove forklift and dozer from the Flint River Project during our next episode.